Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
What's going on? We're back this week with your Survivor News, covering Survivor Season 47, Episode 2. I'm joined by the man, the myth, the Ghost Island legend, Mr. Wendell Holland. How are you?
How we doing, sir? Good to see you, Perp. Good to see you, Jack.
Good to see y'all. And we are joined by the non-gambler that gambles, that keeps statistics, that doesn't really matter. 1,007 hours logged, Mr. Jackery Poker Atkins.
What's up? Good to be here. We're getting an early start. You know how to late night gambling, so it's good. No, I'm playing, but excited to talk about this episode. Let's go.
Yes, really good episode. We just were in Dallas for the BWP Tour 47. Dallas was amazing. The viewing experience was superb. Dallas really showed out. We had some-
Over that. What was the viewing experience?
The viewing experience was superb.
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 Or I guess it could be super.
Or
It was super superior.
It was supper. Did you have something to eat?
I was hungry. The Dallas viewing experience was superb. It was okay, listen, the Dallas viewing experience was great. We enjoyed seeing some Big Brother people from the current cast, some Circle. The Circle showed up real heavy, Jack. They were asking for you.
Yeah.
We had some challenge people, some Survivor legends. It was really, really great. But the tour continues. We'll be headed to LA October 9th. And we've got several friends joining us. And after that, we're headed to Nashville. Wendell, did you text me and say we might have a special guest for Nashville?
We're still trying to work on this special guest, but man, oh man, this player is as legendary as it gets. That's all I'm saying. So we're hoping for the best with that player.
Yeah, well, we will see. But the tour continues. We still have Washington, D.C., Chicago, Philadelphia,
New York,
Boston,
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Yeah. So, join in on the fun of the BWP Tour 47, the campaign. Tickets are available. Link in the Bryce and Wynn Present Instagram and Twitter bio. And we will see you on the campaign trails. Jack, before we get into this episode.
I just realized I might be able to come to Chicago.
Oh.
Ooh, I think I'm going there for Thanksgiving, and that's November 20th. That's right around. Is that the night before Thanksgiving or a week?
No,
before?
that's a week before. A week and a day.
We'll see.
Is there anything you like to address, Jackery? I think that last week's address anything, Jack. We had an interesting topic that
I don't know if it's is it still paused for me? I don't know.
It's recorded.
So
yeah, you had some things to address, Jack, and I think the posse was split. So anything you like to care to add to this gambling conversation?
The floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of the comments, guys. Thanks for hopping into the comments first and foremost. I was surprised how many of them happened to be about my gambling shenanigans. Maybe we got lost in the semantics of it a little bit. Okay, yes, poker is gambling, and when you play poker, like I do a lot, I guess I admit that is gambling. But I guess maybe the point that I was arguing, and maybe we got lost in the weeds, was that Bryce, I think, said that I love to gamble, and no,
Jack,
that's not.
Jack,
That's not
you
even,
okay. All right.
That's not a knock, and that's not something that I think that's a reasonable association. It's like, oh, you love to play poker, like you love to gamble, like you're a gambling man. And I just wanted to say that despite my love of poker, I would say that I don't love, like, my least favorite part of poker is probably the element of the gamble and like the uncertainty and the risk. I love poker for, the strategy and like the mental game. And, I do well in poker because when you're like poker, as opposed to other games, you have some more control because it's like, you can make decisions rather than simply, it's not just fully a game of chance. And so I love poker. And I don't necessarily like the gambling element of it, because then that's why I don't play games like blackjack or roulette, because that's like all chance and gambling. So yes, I guess I'm gambling a lot, and I love poker. So in a way, I like gambling, but the gambling element of it is not the part that I enjoy, I would say.
So you only like the winning part of.
Well, I like the strategy of it. It's like,
okay,
and imagine you're playing sports and maybe you're a better player, so you're going to win the game more often, but then they just end up, it's not entirely in your control, like random things happen. I mean that kind of is how sports work. It's like, maybe if you're a great athlete, you might be like, oh, I don't like the random elements of sports. Like I like that. I wish if I would outperform my opponent, that I would win more often. Like, but I think it was funny to see people split. I think if you really are a poker player, then you know what I mean.
I don't know if the comments were split, Jack. Okay, no.
I saw a couple of hymns in the comments.
The Jack Shack was off to a tough start this season in the comments, but we're rebuilding.
No,
right now it's just a Jack cardboard box.
No, there were people in there. There are multiple people saying like they understood what you were saying.
Yes.
However, there were some people in there like, Jack is literally saying every point that every gambler says not to make them a gambler. But no, clearly, Jack.
That's fair, but I think, and that's the thing, is like so many people that gamble justify their bad habits with being like, oh, this, that. But like I said, I keep track of everything like that I do, and I make decent money off it. And I've had times where I have bad stretches, and I'm able usually to evaluate myself and be like, okay, maybe this game that I'm playing in is not for me, and I have to go find a more profitable game, like as far as different poker games go. So I would say I'm pretty responsible and honest with it, whereas a lot of gamblers will, have bigger fish to fry.
Okay,
but
I'm glad we were able to settle that debate.
Yeah. What I will say is Bryce, I can admit you kind of won that debate, and I also want to give you props because last episode you really came in firing with some of the takes, and all I gotta say is Bryce Isaiah might be at a peak debate Survivor form this season, and I'm very excited to see where it takes us this episode, and I'm really excited to see where things could go, maybe on a season 50. I don't know.
I can tell you where it would go. We'll be watching it together because I think that they will cast some amazing people, and we will be excited to cover the season. But I was excited. I was listening back, and I was like, oh my God, Wendell and Jack are both agreeing with my Survivor takes. This is unprecedented. I am excited for this week's episode, though, because I'm care to join in, Wendell? I'm sorry, did I miss something?
You missed the E.
This is unprecedented.
Did I say it wrong?
It's
say it again.
That's what I said. I said this is unprecedented.
Oh,
Bryce, do you know that this pod is being recorded? As if people have the ability to rewind 30 seconds and check what you said.
Anyway, okay, so you just want to prove me wrong, but there were some hot takes that I don't know. Like so I'll let you do it, Jack, but I got some hot takes because there are some people that I am loving how they are evolving, but I'm also like, you're not doing what you said you were doing. And then there are other people that are just flat out surprising me.
Well, so yeah, we have a lot of stuff we can bounce around to, but I like where your head's at to start this episode off, right? So what's one that stands out to you? And we can go from there.
So it is the glue to my hot glue gun, Sam.
Okay.
I love him, right? Like I think that he is putting himself in a great position. I think he's aligning with the right people. I think that he is someone that looks like a strong leader, but he is allowing others to lead. However, I feel like when we met him, he said he a wolf in wolf's clothes, right? Like, and I feel like throughout this episode, I feel like he's being so nice. He's letting everyone in, and I'm worried that it might kind of backfire against him. I understand he wants to be like upfront, and it's like I need to tell my closest ally, but you telling your closest ally, the person that you unexpectedly found something with, they telling somebody else, and then Andy, then we throw Andy in the mix. That's just a lot of variables that make me nervous.
Jack?
I see where you're starting with, Bryce. I would say, right, like that opening confessional of Sam, like the wolf in wolf's clothing, that gave me a lot of the vibe of kind of you come up with it's like preseason and you come up with a line in your head, you're like, yo, this line's hard. Like, and then you like gotta work it. Because even in the context in which he said it, it like didn't make a ton of sense because he's like, I really want to like, he's like, a lot of times there's a big targets that don't know how to be subtle. And I think he was sort of being like, I'm a target, but I'm going to play to the way I interpret it is like, I'm going to play like low key and make smart moves. But then to be like, but I'm a wolf in wolf's clothing is like, okay, well then you're an obvious target, which I don't think is how he wants to play the game. So to that point, Bryce, I think that wolf in wolf's clothing is like preseason, like, yo, this would sound sick. Like I'm going to say it. Whereas I do think he wants to play this game, like he said, being the glue guy, where he's bringing everybody into the fold. And I like where his game is at a lot. And I think if we want to talk about, I wonder more about the context in which he found that idol with Anika, because to me, if you're not that trusting of Anika and, I haven't been on the island, I don't know exactly how you would execute it. But I see a beware advantage and I'm with someone I don't want to see me find it, maybe I go a little more, put it in the pocket and be, or like circle back to it. Not on some Andy vibes, but now, given that Anika saw him find it, I actually think it was really, really smart of him to go and be proactive and say, I know this information is going to get out. Let me just get ahead of it. And I also don't hate him trying to rope in Andy, because I think if you are really good with Sierra, why not grab an Andy, keep the tribe strong, make sure you have, some numbers going forward rather than say voting out Andy potentially, and then maybe Anika and Rachel stick together and now it's 2-2. Now, to your point, Bryce, just to put a pin in my Sam thoughts, right now he's playing a great game. But this is one of those things where I agree with you down the line. It's like, oh, Sam has a relationship with everybody. If he keeps that going into the merge, and he's a big guy too, where you're just so on top of things and so ahead of things, that could, come to bite him in the butt. But right now, I'm loving where Sam's game is at. Also, not to mention, he had 16, not to get too in the edit, he had 16 confessionals this episode.
Wow.
Which for, an early episode is crazy. So he's definitely, been a focal point of the season. And I'm liking what Sam's bringing to the table. Wendell, what do you think?
I kind of agree with you, Jack. It's like he said he wanted to be the glue guy, and this guy is kind of like going and sharing different things with different people and kind of keeping those people at his disposal. But I'm scared for a Sam post merge.
Right. That you said it beautifully. Like, that's my only thing. It's like you are actually executing everything that you said really well. It's just that it's the second episode, and damn it, you doing it too well to the point that it's like, I just worry for Sam, and I like Sam. And I plugged my glue gun up. I'm expecting for him to use it all season. So it is more of a concern, not a dislike, because I think that he is killing it. Can we
to that
talk
point,
about
something that stood out a little bit to me of like a little bit of a point of concern is now we know him and Sierra are close, but I did think it was a little strange, right, when he's trying to maybe convince Sierra to, let's use Andy, where he was like, you could see why I would be afraid of going to 4 with, all the girls, right? To me, it's just phrasing things like that. It's a close ally, so you could probably speak a little bit more candidly, but I never think you should be pitching it in a way that's like, here's why it's good for me, or here's why I'm worried about you. It would be more like, here's why Andy could be good for your game, Sierra, and like, right. So that gave me a little bit of pause, but still, I think, it seems like they're really close. Even in the teaser, Anika thinks they might be dating. So, of course, you could be a little more honest with your conversations there, but that does give me a little concern of Sam is really operating at a high level, but I think he's also really viewing the game through what benefits him. And maybe he's not thinking as much about how do you angle all these things to other people where you can kind of let go of the control a little bit and like let them run with it.
Right. And I love the pairing of him and Andy. I think it is easy for him or easy for someone to say Andy's an issue. He's the first person that we need to get rid of. And seeing that Andy just wants to be heard, wants to be seen, and Sam is like, I'm listening. I see you. I think that is an excellent move, and not to jump all the way around, but props to Andy, right? Because I think Andy did something. Andy was Andying, right? And although in the first episode, Andying didn't work out that well, but here is an example of in this episode where I felt like Andying worked out. Andy putting the Beware back. Okay, first of all, thank you, Andy. Because what have I been saying on this podcast since the Beware has been around? I said, if I find it, I would do what?
Leave it.
Okay. So I just got joy. And first of all, Andy said, this isn't going to be good for us, Andy. Put it back. Okay. Like I love the fact that we in real time can see Andying and processing things, because when I tell you that is me, I be in my head so much and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. It's like you really see Andy and be like, what should we do here? I don't know. They're going to vote us out. They're going to get us. They were clapping for you this morning. No, we're good. Let's go talk to Sam. Put it back. Like, like I love it. But here is in a sense where I'm sure people disagreed with Andy, right? Of putting it back. Then Andy got back to camp and it was like, why did you put it back? They left you. Go get it. And he goes to get it and it's not there. And so then Andy starts Andying. And what Andy does inadvertently by bringing Sam into it, and although Sam has it and Sam is lying to him, I think that really solidifies to Sam that, okay, Andy might Andy a little bit, but he is loyal and coming to me. And I think that what Andy did in this moment was really make a complete connection, not a connection of like just words, right? Because in Survivor, people always gonna say, I'm working with you, I got you. But what Andy really did was like his actions to Sam showed that like, yeah, I might not perceive everything or act how everyone acts, but listen, I'm playing in this game and I'm loyal. And I think that really in the long run can work out for Andy, him having this solid base with Sam. And so I think Andying Andy'd this episode
and worked in his benefit.
Right.
But I do think, no question, he should have taken that Beware advantage. And now I don't disagree.
Let me just ask you this, but let me just ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
From what we have saw of Andy from the first episode, do you really think that would have been like, think about it. Like, I think he did the right thing for Andy. Not like, don't think about how other players should play and what you could do with it. Think about Andy in that moment. I think Andy assessed the pros and the cons, and I think he made a good decision. Now, think about it from Andy's perspective, Jay.
Yeah, maybe in his perspective, it's like, okay, I'm trying to regroup and like show that I'm chill and solid. I could see why in his mind, it's like, okay, if I take this advantage, it's going to cause more chaos in my mind. Like, let me chill. But and maybe for Andy, that makes sense. But I do think when you're kind of at the bottom you have to go for any advantage you can get. Like it might push you down farther, but if you're already at the bottom, give yourself a chance to be on the come up, right? Because now Andy's at the mercy of ultimately Sam and Sierra, and it might work out. But if he had grabbed an idol or something, you know, now in his shoes, of course, he doesn't know what the beware advantage is going to be. And maybe, you know, having that vote is really important if he's hoping to work with Sam and Sierra. But I just think when you're at the bottom, you gotta go big, you know.
Can you hide it elsewhere, or you have to leave it where it?
You have to put it back where it is.
Or you can take it, and hide it somewhere else, but you don't have a vote, and it's considered like you're actively like using the beware advantage.
Yeah. I do agree with you, Bryce. I think kind of with what we talked about with Sam and with Andy is a really great point about, I guess, how I view, you know, solidifying a good ally in a really tactical way is kind of being ahead of the 8 ball with giving information, right? And Survivor is a game of information. You don't want to be running around spilling all your guts and like talking about talking I guess behind people's backs, or like saying too much about people's plans, or like telling everyone you have an idol. But I think really what I would call is like giving harmless information that seems impactful, right? So Andy saying like, hey, Sam, I found this beware advantage. I put it back. Like, it's gone now. Like, that's not really going to ricochet onto Andy because, you know, he doesn't even have it. But if I'm a Sam, I'm like, damn, Andy's telling me this like really important information. This is good to know. Like, I trust Andy more. And to the same point, like Sam, I think a lot of times it's good to give information that you know was kind of going to get out anyways, and just sort of be the first person there. So like Sam knows that Anika's probably going to leak his beware advantage to like a Rachel. So he's like, rather than them hearing about it and I don't say anything and they don't trust me, let me just go to them and get ahead of it and like really try to like act like I'm bringing them in, and it seems to work pretty well. So I think both of those are really good examples of like how to build those bonds with information without like giving too much away.
We also could talk about my girl Anika, because I keep saying I see so much of J Maya in her, and I keep saying I want justice for J Maya, and I think my girl Anika has come to season 40 several to get the justice, because my girl Anika is sharp. When I mean sharp, like first of all, her peeping Sam, and then like involving herself, making it like, you know, and she is aware that her and Sam aren't that close, right? Like, so it's like, it's not like she's thinking this bonds them, right? And Sam is aware of that. So it's like, I think that they played a good job acting with each other. But I just thought Anika's confessional afterwards was just like, Sam's a target. He's a threat. If this doesn't already illuminate his threat level, I don't know what does. But it seems like she pieces it up enough for the group. But just to be able to see and hear her walk through this process, I'm like, okay, Anika is clocked in. She's aware of what's going on. And I think that that's important as well. I hope she executes and kind of makes moves correctly and not pop off too soon. But I'm hoping that she can get down the line and work through it.
She kind of scares me a little bit.
She has a little bit of a V. She's clocking things really accurately and like has really good reads on the game. But I'm a little bit nervous about her being a little bit blunt or like being a little bit of a personality, right? In the teaser, we see her ask Sam, who I think is married, and maybe he didn't share that, but in the teaser where she's like, are you two dating? And then, or, you know, how she's like calling Andy like the toxic, clingy boyfriend, not to his face, but in confessional. But clearly she's very blunt, but also has a really good read on like strategic situations, which is kind of how I interpreted Venus's game. And, you know, anyone who's kind of similar to Venus is going to be a fun character. So,
yeah, she has good reads, but she keeps it funky. So it's like, I don't want that to bite her and send her home early. I don't want that to be a reason why her tribe wants to gun for her or anything like that. But we'll see.
Right.
Venus
but so far, yeah. But I feel like if she was Venus already, right? Like, so I feel like she's good, but I'm worried as well. Can we also talk about a very wholesome moment that I thought was just very wholesome?
coconut moment?
I loved it. Now, watching it, it's like we know what they doing, right? We know. But in that moment, I don't know if Andy knew, and I love that for Andy because I feel like in that moment when Andy was cutting that coconut, they was like, "Yay, Andy!" Andy's like, "Y'all want 2 or 3 slices? What y'all want?" Like, I just loved like. I know it's a game, and I know we have to play it, and like you have to be in game mode. But like after witnessing Andy last week, kind of have that meltdown, it was just very exciting for me to just, even if it was false for that 3 seconds, for Andy to chop that coconut and for them to just capture the smile illuminating from his face. I love that for him.
Yeah, that was really funny.
He got his coconut redemption really early.
He did. And he got more than that in the episode. Okay. He said, you clapping for me the way I chopped this coconut. Oh, where do you see what I could do to a bag of rice?
Rice.
Oh, yeah.
He was practicing on the coconut.
He said they gonna eat this up. Wait till they see.
We were at the watch party like, don't give Andy the knife.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I was cracking up because I don't think Jeff ever has said this before, but Jeff's like, watch your finger, boy.
Andy's like everybody's little brother, man.
Right. He's like, Jeff was definitely a mom at that point, cooking on the stove, and Andy was that 3-year-old toddler coming up like, what are you doing? Let me get your hand off the stove, Andy. But I love that for him. I love Andy.
Yeah. Should we kick it over to, let's go over to the Red Tribe Lavo. Really funny start to this tribe's dynamic where Rome decides to clue Teeny in to this beware advantage that he's found, to Teeny's surprise, because they don't really have much of a relationship. And Teeny then decides to bring Keyshawn over to the box and show him what's up. And while they're scoping this out, Rome stumbles upon them and is like, "What's up, guys?" Like,
his walk was he had a stern walk, and he knelt right down there. But it's like, what, you gonna yell at him? So like, he was not happy,
as he shouldn't be. And that moment of him walking up, because first of all, I think Rome is a lot. But this episode, I think Rome has the protective capacities to get through, because for Rome to walk up at that moment means that Rome was like, wait a minute, where everybody at? Let's go to ground to the spot right now. Like, although it was like awkward and TD was like, I could talk my way out of anything. Girl, I don't know if you actually can talk your way out of anything, because
out of that.
Your response was like, well, Jack, I told Wendell where it was because I was thinking we all could work together. Now, although I didn't tell you, Jack, I was about to, and I'm glad you're here now. Like, I was like, Teeny, we're about
to call you.
Okay. Like, yeah. And Keyshawn, I thought Keyshawn handled that perfectly. Keyshawn said, because that's what Keyshawn said. Okay. He was like, if I don't say nothing, maybe they won't realize that I'm really here.
Yeah, it was a hilarious moment.
I would love to see like where Rome was when he was like, I need to get up and walk over there.
Yeah, I wonder if it was a coincidence and they both just decided to go. Like maybe it was like early morning, or he may notice, like Bryce said, that they were gone. He's like, what are they up to? I don't know. Like, I think Rome handled it well. I just don't understand him telling. I'm sick of people just telling everybody everything. Like, if you find something, just keep it to yourself. Like, and I guess people think it's gonna like bring people in close with you, and maybe that's the case. Maybe with a beware advantage where there's like hoops to jump through, it's not bad to like let your closest ally know so that you could have some help. You have someone to look out for you. But it's like if I just go to someone I don't have a relationship with, and I'm like, yo, like I found this, like we're close now, right? Like, no, that's not how it works.
But I think that from what I've seen of Teeny last episode, everyone has said that her energy is great. People like her. She's making connections. So I'm not mad at Rome for doing this. I think that Rome is aware that he could do a better job of connecting with the tribe. And so like that
Yeah.
person could be Teeny, but we know that it's not. You shouldn't. But I'm not mad at him trying to make that connection.
Yeah, perhaps he probably identified that she's in the the focal point of the tribe, and that's someone who's going to be a crucial decision maker. So you want to connect with them. But yeah, it's just tough to. And I guess maybe Rome thought they were closer than they were, but I don't know. I just if like everyone wants to share everything, and to me, it's like if you're sharing things day 4, then either you're basically going to have to ride to the end with that person, or they might have an opportunity to flip things on you and with the knowledge of your advantage. So it's
But
just the
it
awkward
is an
part.
accelerated game though, Jack, right? Like I think, and from what I've heard a lot from the new era, is that, back in my day, back in Wendell's day, right? Like there were maybe 2-3 days that you could build these bonds where nothing would be going on and you would just be at camp. And so I don't think that the new era has the luxury of just hanging out at camp building bonds like that. So I do think
Mm,
they are a little bit more accelerated because it's like we might be at a tribe swap. We might be losing. Like, I think I'm not mad at the thought process, but yeah, like I don't think that I would share that with anybody.
yeah. And aside from that, on this tribe, the rest we really see is we don't see a lot of like strategic dynamics. We kind of just see Rome is a bit on the outs, and he's getting at it of being like a showman and a little bit cocky. Uh,
Little bit.
what do we think about what Rome's bringing?
Rome is the star of his show. And there are some times when I get like Bruce vibes from Rome in that you might not see how people are viewing you, and you got a lot of energy and you got a lot to give. But I could also see him like, I could see him landing kind of where Bruce landed. Like I could see him finding a way through the game.
Yeah, it is very clear that Bruce was the older brother, Q was the middle brother, and Rome is their little brother because they all grew up in the same house. Like they're and while Rome is chaotic and doing a lot of things, this is what I will say, and this is what the episode had for me was that Rome is playing. Rome, while it is season 40 Rome, he understands, right? Like I feel like he has a knowledge of the game, and sometimes I have seen this be an advantage in these newer era of seasons. Rome is getting the party started, right? Like he is not waiting, and sometimes it's like you gotta get the party started, and he's
Good for him.
right. I mean, it could be, it couldn't be, but it's like I feel like the advantage that Rome has is he is setting the pace. The others now have to keep up, and that puts them at a disadvantage.
Yeah, and I mean,
him out.
And I like his decision. We didn't talk about it. He right then and there in front of Teeny and Keyshawn, accepts this one tribal idol. So he's gonna be, now that he set this tempo, he's gonna be good at the first tribal, and now people have to adjust and play accordingly. And it seems like there's a lot of different moving pieces in this tribe where maybe this forms some crack. Maybe Rome was the initial target, but maybe now some cracks form that allow Rome to slip through a couple tribals. Now, I think he's going too hard, and I think he's rubbing people the wrong way. So I don't think Rome is necessarily long for the game, but Lavo is winning challenges. You know, he's got this one idol. Maybe he makes it to a swap, makes it to a merge, and then he's not, you know, necessarily on the outs. And like you said, with Bruce, can slip through, and we'll see what happens. And at least, you know, I don't know my read on him yet, but he's definitely making good television. So cannot be mad at that. And yeah, I'm just curious if the Lavo dynamics are really outside of Rome, because I feel like 75% of what we've seen over there is about Rome.
Right. And I think Rome doesn't get enough praise for taking the one idol. And I think when he was like, listen, I let Keyshawn and Teeny know Rome will not be going home this first tribal. And I think that that is a mistake that I have made and others have made, where it's like, you really got to get through the first tribal and there is still game left. I'm so happy that Rome did not gamble and go for more. He made a very calculated decision. And I don't think that that's a part of why I'm like, wow, Rome really does. He's wild and crazy, but he has a pulse on the game, because I think that was brilliant of him to be like, let's get through this first tribal council.
And if he didn't find Teeny and Kashawn digging for it,
oh, he would have went for it.
Went for like the 3 or the multiple day idol.
Yeah, it is interesting though. I mean, we didn't mention Sam also took the single tribal idol, and you know, fast forward a little bit, Gabe takes 3 tribal idol, but plays it at tribal 1, and we can get more into that decision when it comes around. But it is funny thinking that, you know, these players are out on the island fresh after watching 46, or I think they saw the whole season where, you know, 5 people in a row, or 4 people in a row and 5 people total go home with an idol in their pocket. I'm sure that's influenced them to be like, let me just get this idol out of my pocket so I don't overthink it and go home with it. Because I don't want to be like many of the 46ers that go home with one. It's like that. So it definitely simplifies the decisions a little bit, I'm sure.
Right. And especially when your idol when you stumble upon people finding it, or when you have found it with someone around, I think the best bet is to get rid of it.
True. I mean, and I guess in everyone's case, Gabe, Rome, and Sam, multiple people know about it. So might as well. It takes too much finesse to be able to like get that early and really navigate with it in your pocket with people knowing and like do it at the right time. Because I feel like you'd have to be in constant like paranoia that someone's going to try to blindside you, and that might just be a bad thing for your game in general when you're worried about. Because like I feel like when you know it's easy to get blindsided without an idol, but I feel like, at least in my limited experience off the island and in other Survivor experiences, is you can kind of tell when you're not the target, right? Like if you're getting a bunch of different names coming to you, and you maybe Bryce, you're targeting Wendell, and Wendell, you're targeting Bryce, and you guys are both coming to me going after each other, and it's like, and people are really like weighing the decisions. It's like, okay, I'm probably not a target here. Whereas, you know, if everyone's just telling me it's going to be Bryce, and I'm like, I don't know who Bryce is voting for, and like everyone's just telling me I'm good, maybe I'm a little bit more suspicious. But then when they know you have an idol, it's like, well, now they actually have to make you feel good. So not only like I could actually numbers and then start freaking out because I'm like, they could. So now I guess my point is, when people now know you don't have the idol, maybe you can read the game a little bit more honestly and not have to be in constant fear of a blindside.
Do you think Rome is the kind of person that, you know, he says like, all right, I'm using this is the one tribal idol. Do you think he's the kind of person that might try something slick with it?
I do.
I do, but call me a fool. Him in that confessional, I believed it. Like I thought what he was saying, Teeny and Keyshawn know that I won't be going home. I believe that. He said that with his chest.
True. But I mean, if there's ever a time to do something slick, it's in a situation like this where if you're literally seeing that it's for one tribal, it's like they're never going to vote for you, and you can kind of put it on whoever you want. Now, does Rome necessarily have the connections right now, or like whatever to pull that off? Maybe not. Like,
That is a good question, though. But my actual question is in the details because it says this is only good for one tribal. So if you go to one tribal and it's no longer good, can you then put it in the box and try to get it? I would think that it kind of washes it away.
It does. I think what we're saying is maybe at the
Play it on
first
somebody
tribal,
else.
yeah, play it on someone
Oh,
else, or yeah,
okay.
it's like because now maybe the target shifts to like Soul, and maybe Rome's like,
Rome is
well,
playing. He's saving himself.
No,
Okay.
Bryce. I think Rome is the kind of guy that
he's so
that
like juiced up, yeah.
he wants to do something so crazy, so early. It's like, first of all, save your fancy plays for after the merge. But I think he is so amped up that I wouldn't be surprised if he tried something crazy with this idol the first time they go.
Agree.
Can we also talk about, and this is how I know Bruce, Q, and Rome were raised in the same household. Can we talk about okay, wait, not Rome being like, yeah, I wish I could dance better. Bitch, the whole episode you was dancing. like okay, like
He was. That's your
And
boy,
he
Bryce.
was like, I always knew I could be a rapper if I really wanted to.
but he said, get down with the rap, cause I'm back with a I didn't finish it, but no, when I finish it, I would kill it.
Yeah. And like the moment where he's like, I always thought I could have gone to the league or whatever.
And mind you, did you clock Asia when Asia said, well, what happened? Now, clearly she's being joking. Did you hear Rome's response?
What did he say?
He was like, yeah, I mean, I just stopped playing. I started, oh,
He's
really?
like, I rolled my ankle on JV and never came back from it.
Yeah, I had to clock Asia when she said, well, what happened? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I just got into other things. Rapping was really evolving for me. And my parents enrolled me in the dance. So, yeah, Rome is hilarious.
Yeah, he's multi-hyphenate. Yeah.
He's like what's homegirl that had a million jobs?
Debbie.
Liz.
Debbie.
Didn't Liz have a lot of jobs too?
Well,
I think her jobs were unclear. She was a fake millionaire, but
Debbie was like a pilot, a politician,
yeah, a model,
a nurse,
a scientist. But yeah, that's Lava's got an interesting dynamic going on, and then we can kick it over to Tuku, where TK is building this alliance with Kyle and Tiana. And Tiana, expresses that she was worried about a potential bromance, but now she feels pretty good about working with TK and Kyle.
I was here for
this. Also, and they pull in Gabe as a potential fourth, but it's not really like it's just kind of like, yo, you're our fourth, like come in. And Gabe kind of sees this and decides to try to go sort of make something happen with Caroline and Sue. Caroline's kind of skeptical, but Gabe shows her his idol, and she is now a little bit more on board. And ultimately Sue is a little bit bothered. Sue and Kyle and TK and Tiana go take like a nap on the beach. TK is chatting up a storm. Sue's kind of annoyed, and now I guess we're sort of at this spot where Tiana is a potential swing vote between Sue as a target and TK as a potential target, and that's sort of the dynamic around Tuku. What stood out to you guys about this?
Gabe is somebody to watch, right? First of all, I know we don't cast villains, and I wouldn't say Gabe is a villain, but Gabe is like, I didn't see it at first, but I am loving this like because it really is kind of like a rebellion against and I don't want to say the popular kids, but it's like there is normally a core alliance that gets formed, and they're like, well, Gabe kind of fits in, and let's bring you all in. And Gabe's like, okay, well, I'm not dumb. And I love Gabe recognizing this because a lot of times in these alliances, that fourth person don't realize they the fourth person until it's too late for you to do anything. And so I love Gabe being so proactive. And I love the fact that he is like, his squad is not what you would think you would go get if we play in basketball and there's LaMelo Ball, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Allen Iverson. And I'm like, oh, and they like, Bryce, you could play on our squad. I'm like, no, I'm gonna get my own squad. That's like me going to get Rome,
Bruce,
and
Q.
and Q. Like, it's like, or Kevin Kubicki. Like, they don't look like they basketball players, but it is those type of people. That's what I'm saying.
He made up a whole new character.
I mean, Christian Kubicki. That's like me.
You can hoop.
You got the misfits, Bryce. You got this ragtag band of misfits,
right? And that's
But
dangerous.
Bryce is like, on this team, I'm gonna get the ball. Like, he's like, if I'm with Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, and LeBron, I'm just gonna be standing in the corner. But
I'm a foul.
Although you already know Rome's not passing it.
But it really is good though, because we know Sue and Tiana are good. I haven't seen Sue tell Tiana about the Avengers Alliance yet. Like, I think there is something powerful about what Gabe is doing. And I love the fact that Gabe is being proactive and reactive. I like it. Like, he's sneaky, and
at first
I like it.
He had to get some footing a little bit. Like, at first he was a little awkward and like bumbling, and he dropped that box and all that stuff. Now it's like, all right, I'm here. I'm peeping the scene. I'm reading things. I'm going to start making moves. And I think he said something about like Russell being one of his one of the players he wants to play. Like, I get a little Tony vibes even. Like, I like his like shady sneakiness, his plays, and even later when he's willing to go against TK, I like that too. So
would you recommend Gabe texting Russell? They should stay on Facebook.
Can we continue on, please? Thank you.
Here's my issue with Gabe.
Go ahead.
I like the moves he's been making so far.
Okay.
However, I take issue with, I feel like he is really trying too hard to be a villain. And I don't necessarily, now I'm not mad at the moves, but I feel like in his confessionals and things like that, he is like too eager to be villainous. And right now the moves are okay, but I'm worried that down the line, he's going to be just so focused on this that A, it's going to hurt his social game, and B, it's just going to maybe like distract him from like playing solid Survivor. And a couple examples I would cite would be, it kind of reminds me of when I went into the circle. I was like, oh, I want to be a big villain. But then it's like, once the game starts, you kind of let go of that narrative and you just play. But I still feel like Gabe is kind of holding on to this. And it's like, dude, stop. Like, his confession about the women being like wounded birds. It's like, dude, that's like, you're like phrasing things in a way to like seem really devious, but it seems really like it seems kind of like disingenuous, right? Like, Russell was like crazy, and like that was him, and like that's like he was the original. But now it's like I feel like Gabe's trying to almost like cosplay as like a Russell, and it's like, just be yourself, dude. And also, like, his confessional when he voted, where he's like, want to see a magic trick? Like, this is how I make your game disappear. It's like, okay, bro, I know you've been thinking about that one for like 5 months. And like, you finally
he ate with that one though. That one ate though.
I didn't think that ate, because I'm like, I know you were sitting at home like writing down like best voting confessional lines and like watching like Wendell's Ghost Island Chris Noble confessional. Like, I want to be like that. And now, like, I think his gameplay is really good, but I'm like, I think it's kind of an act. And honestly, I feel like I could speak to this because going in the circle, I kind of had a similar mindset. But it's like, just drop the act. Like, casting's over. You don't have to play it up anymore. And just play the game. Play your game. Don't be so concerned with people, because the best villains are not thinking like, oh, I want to be a villain. They're just being themselves and being a little bit devious, and then they're villains because of that. Anyone who's like trying to be villainous, it's just like, it just seems really fake, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you just want to be disliked? Like, just be yourself. Like, he seems likable. Like, just be you. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I like the fact that the tribe addressed the awkward situation last week where we saw the box fall from the mountain, and they kind of sort of covered it up and we didn't see really anyone address it. But I like throughout the episode that everyone in their own time frame was like, homeboy over there looking for idols, we hearing it fall out the tree. Like, so it is, I thought that was great. And I think that kind of, although we don't see the storyline, I think that Jack is what amps up Gabe's like villain level, because I think that the tribe knows what's up. And so I think that this is his way of being offensive, is being like Mr. Evil, trying to figure stuff out. But
well, I think the game plan and his gameplay is the strongest of anyone on this tribe so far. Like, I think he's probably the best player on this tribe. So all I'm saying is, I think what's going to hold him back is this idea that he has to like be seen as a villain. And like, being a villain is fun, but like, let it come naturally. Don't like, I honestly thought the wounded bird thing was a little bit like, I don't want to say misogynistic, but it wasn't necessarily like the best look. Like, Sue and Caroline are strong women, strong players. Like, it's like I was watching with a couple players from the new era. I don't want to put anyone's name out there, but they were like, you could tell he was watching like Caleb highlights, and he was like, how do I make confessionals like Caleb did? And kind of like trying to recreate that. And
who are you watching with? Some 45ers.
Couple 45, couple 42.
You were watching with the people you went out to dinner with when we had a dinner reservation?
Couple. They live like 15, but that's October 9th. I'm not even eating dinner.
Reservation at third base.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like he's focused on trying to be something. And
Jack, what does a wounded burn sound like?
That's a bird on.
That's me as a dove trying to get Hunter to get me.
I'm vulnerable. Yeah, that's just my like, because I could tell. I think he'd be someone fun to, like, if you're on the island, I think he'd be someone cool to hang out with. He's a good player. So I'm just like, I just think it's weird to say, because all of these things that are happening in like confessional or in like his voting confessional, which aren't going to have any impact really on the other players. But I just think it shows me his focus is a little bit distracted. And I guess that's my, but it is, of all the edits we've been seeing so far, like Gabe's is really interesting, because it's like, is he going to crash and burn really early? Is he going to like go all the way and win this thing? Like, I think any of those things might be possible, but
I think what is so interesting though, right, is we have there are 3 very different male images, right? Like, we have a Sam who is like, playing a great game, strong. Then you have a Rome who, like, most people are thinking is like crash and burn. Then you have a Gabe as someone that's like this evil, devious type of person. So it's just interesting, the 3 like main arcs that we're seeing within these male characters.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to get to the challenge, because I really want to talk about the ending of the challenge, because I thought the challenge was great. I love in this new era, this multi-level challenge that's like team-based, but also has some individual strong points about it. I just love the layers of this challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really fun challenge. There's so much to unpack. I guess at the end, we can kind of zoom through the challenge itself. They're navigating this bag of rice through some obstacles, and they get to a I guess one person has to do sort of a blind maze,
Okay.
and then they
Can we?
and then they have to get the ball out of the bag of rice. Honestly, all three of them were looking like Rambo, like just attacking it. And then the final three people have to navigate like a snake table maze, and Gata ends up winning. Lavo gets second, and Tuku loses. And I guess the big takeaways here were Rachel pocketing some rice, gets called out by Jeff.
Love to see it.
Let's
Love
talk
to
about
see
that first. Yeah.
First of all, to whatever producer,
Snitch.
cameraman
Hmm.
that radio to Jeff to look at her pockets, count your days. I hope you get intestinal gelitis and you got diarrhea for 6 days. Like, why would you blow that girl's game up? I thought that was so innovating and fun. And as a Survivor former player, can you imagine the power she could have wielded back at camp if they would just
With 17
Like,
grades.
you get some rice. You get some rice.
like that was so dare I say we might have to put her on the same level as Claire Ravson and these legendary moves in the new eras, because that was iconic. And I'm kind of mad that they spoiled it though. I thought fans would love like that. I loved that.
And it would have been a funny scene back at camp too to see that.
Yeah, and in this game, you're encouraged to push the envelope and do like weird things and think outside the box. That was definitely thinking outside the box, and I think they should have allowed it. But I will say this: if people try it in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if they do allow it at some point. Like if they're like, maybe we messed that one up, but maybe let's see what happens.
Or maybe the next move is you just gotta start eating the rice during the challenge.
You can't eat raw rice, right?
I mean, you can. I don't think your body can digest it.
Well, that was my question to you guys. I think you guys would know better than I would. Do we think this was a decision based on fairness, where it wasn't fair for them to get this extra rice, like according to production? Or could it have been like a health thing where maybe this rice had been pre-prepped for this challenge 5 days ago and it was like sitting in the salt water and maybe it was like kind of moldy and like they didn't want to deal with the health concerns that these 30 grains of rice would provide? Is that a possibility, or do we just think Jeff was like, no, you can't take the challenge rice?
I think she got caught. I think that if she would have been a little more stealther, I think because mind you, she had it in her front pocket, her back pocket. Like, I think, yeah.
I don't think there's any level of stealthiness that would have prevented her from being caught. I feel like at one of the merges. No, bro. I feel like at one of the merges, I don't know. I've been to a couple. At one of the merges, I tried to there was a knife on the table or somewhere. I got my hands on the knife and I didn't put it on me. Wherever we were sitting, I put it on the ground and I buried it. Just like as if you can't see my hands now. I was just burying it just like this. And afterwards, one of the producers was like, yo, we need that knife. Their eyes are everywhere. So I don't think there was a level of stealthiness that would have prevented her from getting caught. And I don't think it was a health issue that they're like, oh, we don't want her eating this particular rice. And I don't think it's an unfair advantage issue where they're like, we don't want this tribe having 30 grains of rice. I just think it was all right, Jeff, this is your moment. Go get her real quick. And I think that's what happened. But I think if they thought it through a little more, they would have let it.
And you could tell Jeff wasn't mad at it, because you know when Jeff is mad. I think he enjoyed it and was like, you thought you'd get one over on old Jeffy, but you can't. But he definitely enjoyed the moment. The blind puzzle was a particular favorite for me, only because Did y'all see Rome standing on his tippy toes to get to the
If you
Why?
only
Why they do Rome like that? Rome had to be on his tippy. That's what took Rome so long.
I think
Rome
same
couldn't
with,
reach.
same with Tiana actually at points, which is fine. I mean, but no, like yeah, it was. That's why his NBA dreams didn't come true because he had to get on the tippy toes.
But
Yeah, that puzzle was fun.
I
Yeah,
love
it
the
was a fun
snake.
challenge.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I love the snake thing. It's a new version of what we've seen. It definitely seems difficult. Having 3 people work together, like pull out as hard as you can. Like it seemed hard to maneuver.
Yeah.
good challenge,
But
yeah.
yeah. Now let's talk about it, okay? Because I really want to talk about TK here. Because
Yeah.
when I was at our BWP viewing experience in Dallas,
Mm.
I was pissed at TK. I'm like, what the F are you doing? When I got home and I rewatched it, I was like, still mad at TK, right? In the sense that, like, brother,
Just shut
I'm
up.
not mad at right. Shut up. But I'm not mad at what he said. Given from his sports aspect, right? I understand why he would say something like that. Like it's like no tears, no like. I completely get it. That's like if he just thought he was at a press conference. You know when you sit at the press conference and they ask you, that's where TK thought he was. He like
Yeah.
forgot for a moment he was on Survivor because it's like what he is saying as a sportsman, as a team player. I get it. Wrong place, wrong time. Like it just, but how can you explain when that adrenaline is running, you lose, you're down, you're disappointed, and it's like he wants to take accountability. I felt what
And
he was
everyone can't be
saying.
coached. And everyone
Right.
can't be coached like that. Like sometimes I think, man, what if Danny McCray were in that situation? His version of uplifting and coaching might be a little different than, man, we don't smile after a loss. Like, nah, it's everyone can't receive that. And at
Right.
that moment, when everyone is stinging and understands someone has to go home, I think the best option at that point is to just lock it up. Now, for TV, it's great TV because now it's like this little line that he said is exactly why Tiana's like, all right, I'm going for like I can't do this with him. But you're not in a press conference, brother. It's not after that kind of game. And they can vote you out. Whereas that football team you were on, they probably aren't voting you off the football team for being a little more
Right.
intense next time.
And then it was just like, okay, we can give you this mistake. We're asking for you to clean it up. And in the cleanup process, you spilling more juice on the floor. Like it was like, brother. And again, this is why I love Survivor so much, because it's like these people that fit the bill of being talented, charismatic, funny. Like Survivor is not that easy. And I keep telling these people that, like, when you get out there, you have to be careful of like your blind, like what are your blinders and your triggers, because when you start getting prickly out there, when you start feeling away, that's when you're your most vulnerable, because it's very, I felt where TK was coming from, but it was just like, brother, you gotta clean it up. We on a campaign 47. What's going on? That's not how you talk to the constituents.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Meanwhile, Gabe's at his confessional like, yeah, yeah. Did you hear the way the bird sounded when TK spoke? Yeah. What? Oh, it's time for dinner, Mom? Like, oh.
Mom, you want to see this lasagna disappear?
Mom, did that sound good? Is it good? Okay. Okay. Deeper. TK. We're coming to get you. Huh? Hey, Grandma.
We got lasagna upstairs.
And-
Gabe, come upstairs. I hear you using your confessional voice again.
I told you to knock on the door. I'm using this Vaseline for my hair.
I'm moisturizing my feet.
Dad says this is normal.
Oh. Oh.
I'm not screaming at you. I'm playing Fortnite with Jack.
We're not gambling.
Shut up, Mom. I'm practicing my confessionals.
I'm going to be on Survivor. Sorry, guys. It's my mom.
Yo, Gabe, when you see Bryce, punch him in his throat. Whew.
Oh,
Damn.
I also love my girl Sudo, right? I love when Gabe is putting stuff together. I love how excited she gets to be working with a team. And like, I know Sue went out there saying like she's gonna be so strong, and she's like, you can really tell that when she got out there and saw everyone that like she was maybe a little intimidated and maybe thinking they were going to target her. So it was like really good to have her. I just liked the way that she was excited and hyped to be working with Gabe. You feel what I'm saying, Jackie?
yeah. Sue's been great. Like I think Sue's doing everything right. And that she and Gabe both saw this opportunity to bring Tiana in, which ultimately is successful. They're also not afraid to the whole rocks thing. We haven't seen it in a while, and it's interesting. I guess how people sort of leverage the threat of rocks, right? They're going to be like, well, we have 3. We want to pull Tiana in, but ultimately the question is like, would Tiana even go to rocks? Like, no.
Right.
If we can kind of hold that over her head, she kind of has to switch. And I think that was really smart. Yeah, I like what Sue's doing, and we see Sue versus TK the way that we've seen them. I try not to read too much in the edit, but so far Sue has been so lovable, and not a great edit this episode for TK, just like what he's bringing to the show. So the Sue versus TK debate, I could kind of see what direction it was going to go in. So it wasn't a shock, but we get to tribal, and it kind of piles on a little bit. TK kind of I don't want to say mansplains to Sue like how social relationships work, and at that moment I was like, oh boy, like bro, this is not going the way you're gonna want it to go, TK. Because Sue's been doing an excellent job, and there's also a lot of talk about like the bromance on this tribe and maybe the lack thereof. But I guess to get to the we sort of went over the decision. It kind of just boiled down to Tiana, and we could kind of see where it was going because I figured Tiana wasn't going to go to rocks, and with that being said, like she's going to jump on board with Gabe, Sue, and Caroline, and ultimately TK goes home 4-2. Kyle is surprised. What do we think about TK lost, but he's smiling right there, so I don't know what he meant about that. No, but honestly, he was a good sport about it, which was nice. Where do we think we sit with this? I mean, I think we can all agree this was probably like the right move for pretty much everyone but Kyle, or at least like the move that made sense in the moment.
Yeah, I'm worried for Kyle. I think that everything that we have seen of Kyle, I like Kyle. I think that he's great. I want to see more of Kyle. I think Kyle fell into the barrel of I'm working with somebody and that's it. I think that he didn't really open up doors, and now he's going to be forced to open up doors, and I don't know how people are going to be receptive of it. But I really hope that Kyle can work his way back into the fold, because I really do like his personality, and I want to see more of Kyle.
He's so nice and so loyal that's was who he was riding with. But I
Right.
think him being so nice and such like a sweet man will also help him get back in graces with the rest of the tribe, unless this kind of blindside like shook him and now he's angry or upset and not willing to say, all right, now I need to go back and get in with him. If he's now like mad, mad at them. So I'm interested to see where he will go, because again, this is a player with such high upside.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was a great, go ahead, Bryce.
No, I was going to just say, I am a little worried for Gabe, right? Just and all of the things that you were saying, Jack, about in his confessionals, him being like wanting to play up this villain. Sometimes the problems are when people get power, then they kind of start acting. I'm so curious to see that, since Gabe has this check on his resume, curious to see how he will now maneuver, because with TK gone, will there be a new tribe leader to emerge? And I'm just curious to see how Gabe will be with this alleged win on his resume. Like, I wonder how, like,
yeah, is it going to give him too much confidence?
Right.
And knowing the kind of player Gabe is, they could just be like, all right, we got TK out the way. We can get you out now. Like,
but I don't know if Sue will go with that, because Sue now is like, I think Sue loves her some Gabe. So I don't know if Mama Sue gonna go with that.
It's interesting, because thinking about Kyle, I think Kyle's great. And there was a great secret scene about Kyle. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was very wholesome. Wish it was in the episode. Maybe it's not a great sign that it wasn't, but I have a lot of confidence in Kyle as a player. The issue is, like, with this tribe dynamic, I don't know how he's really going to fit his way back in. Now, I think he could work with Tiana, and like you guys said, maybe Caroline's a free agent here or something, but it's hard to know who would go next on this tribe, because I guess Kyle would be the obvious person, but I have a lot of faith in Kyle and people's willingness to work with him. The other thing we failed to mention that I would love to talk about is Gabe placed his idol at this tribal council. Do we think this was? What do we think about this move?
Yeah, get out the way. Get some of this shadiness off me. Yeah, y'all saw me being my little Here's the product. It's out of the way. Now let's play some Survivor.
But can Gabe contain himself and not go looking for it again? Because normally they replant them, right?
Gabe gonna be in them streets looking for that again. Trust and believe. Let's hope he's not throwing boxes off of cliffs anymore, making so much noise. But he's gonna be in them streets looking.
Yeah, the idol play to me was interesting, and I ultimately think it was a good move. Part of me was like, why not just play it for Sue and make sure your plan, goes over accordingly. But I think if you're Gabe, you have a pretty good confidence that you're gonna at least have 3 votes. And you probably feel pretty good. I would guess there was some conversations behind closed doors with Tiana where she, probably locked in. Because if I was Gabe, I'd be feeling good. You at least think you have 3 votes. And, if you play it for Sue, maybe it's perceived as a bigger move where now I guess it wouldn't have necessarily saved Sue, because it would have been a 4-2 vote anyways. But it's revealing more of that relationship with Sue, that you're willing to play it for her.
Right.
And by playing it for himself, if there happens to be a tie, well, now, Gabe can't go to rocks. And if Tiana, assuming the tie, Tiana would be on the other side. Well, now it's going to incentivize. Now, not only is Gabe safe if they go to rocks, Tiana is a lot more likely to flip over, because if they draw rocks, who's drawing rocks? It's going to be Kyle, Tiana, and Caroline. And in that situation, Tiana, is going home a third of the time, or she's losing Kyle a third of the time, which means that she and TK would then be on the bottom anyways. So by playing the idol for himself, he kind of forces Tiana to come over to their side. And given that it's a 3 tribal idol, I think it's a good move just to make sure you're safe and make sure that you pull the numbers that you have to. And like we've seen in 46, I think the issue is so many players look for that perfect moment to play an idol and like really change the game in their favor. It's like just play it and make sure that you're in the good spot that you think you are, right? And make sure you're in a good position and moving forward in a solid spot. And especially with those short-term idols, that's the best way you can use it, I think. So thought it was a good move. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I thought this was a great episode. Season 47. Trajectory is going pretty high, and I'm excited to see what will happen. I can't thank you, Jack and Wendell, enough for coming back and, doing Survivor News with us as well. The BWP Tour 47 does continue. We will be in LA next October 9th and Nashville on October 23rd. Tickets are available. Click the link in the Bryce and Wynn Present Instagram or Twitter bio, and we will see y'all next week.
It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You better listen in public, might make your stomach hurt. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to unwind, you better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to get your snack, you better hurry right back though. It's the Purple Pants. It's the Purple Pants.